I am State Representative Tony McCombie from the 89th District and the House Republican leader. I'm here today with my colleagues to talk about fentanyl. The epidemic this is an epidemic just not in our state but also in our nation. And unfortunately, this drug has found its way into our neighborhoods, our high schools, and our communities, and leaving no community safe. Take, for example, North Mac High School in nearby Verdon. The school superintendent issued a warning to all parents after 2 students used and were in possession of marijuana containing fentanyl. Thankfully, the students were okay, but the school has since embarked on a campaign to warn students that no illegal drug is safe to use. Unfortunately, fentanyl poisoning is a growing issue. The facts are clear. Fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid that is 50 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine. This leaves a tragic trail of abuse, addiction, and death. Fentanyl has become the largest driver of opioid deaths in our state. It's been on the rise for years and has most likely destroyed or claimed the life of somebody we know. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, 106,000 drug overdose deaths were reported in 2021, with over 65% of those deaths involving synthetic opioids, primarily fentanyl. In Illinois specifically in 2021, there were 3,717 drug overdose fatalities in Illinois, which equates to more than 10 residents each day and is the leading cause of accidental death for Illinois residents aged 18 to 49. Of these fatalities, nearly 81% were caused by opioids. Last session in the 102nd General Assembly, 61 of our House Democrat colleagues sent the wrong message to those who sell and use fentanyl by passing HB 3447 out of the chamber. HB 3447 decriminalized hard drugs like cocaine, meth, and fentanyl. At the time when kids and families across our state are falling victim to this drug, where only one small dose of only 2 milligrams, that is like the tip of a pencil. Illinois Republicans, House Republicans will oppose decriminalizing drugs and push for measures to hold criminal drug dealers accountable. We have been on the wrong side of fentanyl statistics for too long, and it's time we act. As lawmakers, it is our job to keep the public safe and to take action when communities are calling for our help. Today, we're here to talk about 2 bills that I have filed to offer solutions to help save lives. The first is HB 3203, which allows pharmacies and retailers to sell potentially life-saving fentanyl testing strips over the counter. This legislation will also allow county health departments to distribute the test strips to the public for free. I'm proud this bill is moving forward in a bipartisan fashion. The second bill is HB 3210. This escalates the penalties for those caught trafficking fentanyl and making it attractive to kids. Although that bill has failed to move forward, I believe because of politics, this is something that we will continue because it's important to deter people from endangering our children. As lawmakers, we have a moral obligation to do something when we see a problem as deep as this one. It's our public duty to try to solve it, and I believe HB 3203 and 3210 are viable first steps in fighting this epidemic. I would now like to turn it over to my colleague, Representative Jeff Kiker.
Good morning, all. I'm Republican Conference Chairman Jeff Kiker of the 70th House District, which covers parts of DeKalb, Kane County, and a little bit of McHenry County. I'm here to share a little bit of a personal story and hopefully put a light that's touched my family for everybody to consider. As we look at fentanyl, we look at the damage that it's doing not only to our state but our nation. and the expediency with which we need to make sure the tools are available that we can solve the problem on the front end before we have deaths on the back end. 2016, my cousin, who had had many struggles in life, who had been clean for a long time, was faced with a number of tragedies, our grandfather passing, a move across the country, and her life circumstances changing. She was in the Chicagoland area, returned back home to Santa Fe, and was found later that afternoon in her vehicle, overdosed with fentanyl laced drugs. My cousin and I got in the vehicle the next day and drove out to Santa Fe to clean out her apartment and to put all her worldly belongings in a vehicle and bring them back home to her mother and our grandfather. Folks, I don't want to have any parent, cousin, brother, or sister have to deal with that tragedy again. That's why the bills that Leader McCombie has presented today are critical to the protection of our people on the front end before we have death, before we have tragedy. Life circumstance often puts people in a position where they think that this is the avenue and this is the solution. But many times they're seeking that high or to maintain their ability to not go through withdrawal. By the availability of fentanyl strips being out there more readily available in the marketplace, we will ensure that our loved ones, our community members, and those that are seeking relief are able to be here and hopefully one day find that relief through the proper mechanisms. I'd now like to turn it over to my colleague, Assistant Minority Leader Brad Stevens.
Good morning. I'm House Assistant Minority Leader Brad Stevens. I represent the 20th District, which includes parts of the northwest side of Chicago and the northwest suburbs east of O'Hare Airport. I'm a co-sponsor of House Bill 3203, joining Leader McCombie today because of the devastating impacts that fentanyl has on our communities. There were over 1,400 fatal opioid overdoses in 2021 in the city of Chicago. Over 85% of the local deaths involved fentanyl. DEA Administrator Ann Milgram has stated that fentanyl is the single deadliest drug threat to our country that our country has ever encountered. Fentanyl test strips can save lives. They are low cost and have easy steps to test drugs for fentanyl, which could have life-saving effects. House Bill 3203 will allow pharmacists and retailers to sell crucial strips over the counter to the public. By allowing the public to access these strips easily at their local pharmacy or health department, this can add a crucial and potentially life-saving step for members of our communities who encounter controlled substances. This legislation is a bipartisan effort to combat the rise of fentanyl in our communities and take steps to help our constituents. Illicit fentanyl is a poison in our community that is taking the lives of our loved ones and neighbors. I encourage my colleagues to co-sponsor this legislation and support it as it moves through the House so it can help save the lives as soon as possible.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. And while you're at it, please leave us a comment. Thank you for watching.